Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I hope all of you guys are doing well, and today I'm going to shift gears a little bit and talk about some lore for the Mashup card game. It's not my first time doing a lore video, as I have done a lore video in the past for these three characters, Matt, Citrus, and Chloe. I'll have a link to that video in the description should you guys want to check that out. But today's lore video is all about the Delta Warriors. This is kind of an archetype that's been in the Make Your Own Card game. You've seen a few of them if you've watched my videos on Collided Worlds. There's also, and they take up a lot of cards in the first Mashup set. They have their own starter deck, and they take up 22 of the 103 cards in set 1, so I figured this would be a good time to go over those characters, the setting, and kind of break it all down for you guys. And the best place to start is the Delta Academy. This is the prestigious academy for training young heroes, which lies just on the outskirts of Delta Cities. So this is in the universe where this is from. This is where young wannabe heroes will come. They'll get some training. They'll learn how to use their special powers for good and become full-fledged heroes. And so there are a couple of levels to this academy. You have the in training, which, as I just mentioned, is basically new enrollees come into this academy. They learn to develop their powers and discover them, and after a bunch of training and various exercises and whatnot, they become full-fledged Delta Warriors, which are the people who actually do the saving the world, as it were. And depending on how hard that the Delta Warriors are able to work after various assignments and whatnot, they'll become graduates and get to go on to be heroes on their own without needing to be under the jurisdiction of the Delta Academy. Now, as for how it was founded, well, I had like an RPG Maker game that I was working on that kind of tied into this, but I haven't really finished it. But I do kind of know the broad strokes. So basically how it was, there was an instant in which various ordinary people around the world were able to get superpowers through some unknown means. And as word got around to these people with superpowers, you had the government wanted to come in, try to capture these people with superpowers, run experiments, try to use their powers for their own gain. And all the while you had a guy named Slater who also got these superpowers and wanted to take advantage of the situation and try to use his powers to conquer the world. And so there were 8 different heroes who were trying to defy him. There were, I don't quite remember all of them, but among them there was a little boy who had the power to control fire, as well as this fireman character who could control water. And these 8 heroes, they would meet up, they would be teaming up, and they would end up fighting Slater and end up defeating him. And through their actions they would gain a lot of respect from the people, and eventually found the Delta Academy itself, where new heroes would come in, they would train, become powerful heroes, and follow in these heroes' footsteps. So with the Academy, kind of the history of it talked about a little bit, I want to get into some of the Delta Warriors themselves, from the oldest to youngest. And starting off with Delta Warrior Maxim, who is the only one mentioned who is one of the graduates of the Academy. He has done a lot of hard work and was able to graduate from the Academy. He's known mainly for his super strength and his super speed, and he uses them to be able to save the day. There's a lot of characters, even within the Delta Warriors, who look up to him, and he definitely gains a lot of recognition from his fellow Delta Warriors. You can see they have a little statue of him in the front of the Delta Academy. He's worked quite hard to build that reputation. Up next is the current leader of the Delta Warriors. It's Akai. Now, you might be thinking from his attire that he has the ability to command fire, but no, those pants are kind of just for show. They're just kind of stylish, but he is well known as a leader among his fellow Delta Warriors. Currently, as for how he fights, he's kind of like a Batman or Robin type who tends to use gadgets as well as a combination of martial arts to be able to fight his enemies. You could see in one of these older cards I have of him, he's also skilled with using various weapons. You see him using this weird staff here. And then you've got Freya, who is, as you might expect, a master of ice. You can see that in her ability, which allows her to freeze opponents, stopping them from attacking. She's also kind of smart as well. She's also with Akai, helping them come up with the plans that they need whenever there's trouble in Delta City. She helps Akai come up with the various plans that the Delta Warriors use to save the day. Up next, we have one of Akai's good friends. It's Gale, who is a master of wind capabilities. He's well known especially for his sonic boom ability, which is he just claps his hands and unleashes a devastating shockwave. You can see they're often kind of seen patrolling together, as depicted in the art here for Heroic Assembly. You can see they're patrolling together at night, looking for various crimes to stop. And next you got a pair of characters who kind of go together. You've got Boldor and Monty, who are both experts at using the power of Earth. You've got Boldor here, whose powerful punches are able to cause various earthquakes in the surrounding area. And of course there's Monty here as well, who is able to turn his body to stone. You don't really see that in the card, but he does have that ability, and he can actually use that quite well to his advantage. When he leaps up into the air, he'll turn to stone and then unleash a powerful quake that he calls the Girthquake. You can see that kind of depicted on one of these other cards here. His, not on that one, but I think it's one of the 2024 ones. Yeah, that's, you can see he has that ability, Girthquake, where he's able to turn his defense into attack. He doesn't have that ability in this particular version of the game, but he is able to use attack and defense pretty well together in this card game. Next is Delta Warrior Misfortune, a somewhat more mysterious member of the cast. She's got a very powerful gaze that can stop opponents in their tracks, and she's also kind of one of the characters who kind of has unknown motivations for joining the Academy. As for how those motivations will play out, you might have to see that in the future. But for now, there's not a whole lot we know about her right now. Next is Shadra, a master of dark type powers. He's well known for attacks like the Shadow Darts, as are depicted on one of his older cards. He's able to use the Shadow Darts, and he's also able to use waves of dark energy to blind opponents. He's also kind of a bit of a loner in the group. But the Delta Warriors know still that they can count on him to help out whenever in the times of trouble. He just kind of tends to stick to himself, though, most of the time. Up next is Pyro, a master of fire powers. He's able to command fire from his hands. You can see him doing that here in the burst attack card. He is a bit of a hothead and has a bit of a temper, which can cause problems with the rest of the Delta Warriors, and is also kind of a bit reckless. He kind of acts first before thinking. And you can kind of see that in his ability here, where he can destroy opposing characters, but he has to destroy himself in the process. Up next is Hydro, a character who's capable of using water characters. He's very studious and hardworking, and he's one of those who really looks up to Maxim and wants to be able to match or potentially surpass him one day. Definitely another character there. And then next we have Arrow, who is another wind user kind of like Gale, but her powers are manifested in slightly different ways. She's able to use various wind blasts to repel opponents. You can kind of see that in her on-play ability where she returns characters to their opponent's hand. And she's also very acrobatic and able to use her wind powers to fly, and that's manifested in her evasive ability. She's a very carefree individual, and she's very uplifting to her fellow teammates, so whenever one of these other Delta Warriors gets down, Arrow's around to pick them back up. Up next is Flora Sky, who is an expert at using various nature powers. She's able to conjure up like these big vines to entangle opponents, things of that nature. She's a bit shy in the cast and she's not really well known for fighting. She'd rather avoid conflict if she can help it. But if push comes to shove, she is not afraid to get her hands dirty in a fight and use her powers to help out her fellow Delta Warriors in that way. Up next, we have Delta Warrior Lumia, who's actually related to Gale. She's actually the younger sister of Gale. There is a bit of a mistake on Gale's card where Lumia is mentioned as the twin sister. I did fix that a little bit. So it now says that Lumia is his younger sister in there. But either way, she has the ability to use light powers. She can blind opponents, unleash devastating light beams, and is also able to cloak her fellow Delta Warriors in light to amplify their strength. You can see that with the assist ability that she has. Second to last Delta Warrior is Raylan, a rather energetic individual who kind of does bounce around a lot. He does sometimes get on the nerves of the rest of the Delta Warriors. He's a bit of a prankster in that sort of sense. It kind of gets on the nerves of some of the other Delta Warriors, especially with Shadra, who kind of prefers to be a bit of a loner. Kind of ends up being a target of Raylan's pranks in that sort of way. But Raylan here, as a hero, is well known for his electrical powers. You can see him shooting lightning from his hands, and that's also manifested through his ability where he causes opponents to discard cards and lose life points based on their costs. So, pretty shocking ability to say the least. Final of the Delta Warriors is Delta Warrior Blitz, who is also a user of dark powers, sort of like Shadra here, and he's the newest member of the Delta Warriors who's eager to learn, try to prove himself in the team. In his dark powers, he's able to cloak himself with that dark energy and amplify his physical capabilities, and he can really get some stuff done that way. And he's really good friends with Raylan as well, both being some of the younger members of the crew. And while that's it for the Delta Warriors, there's also Nathan to consider. He's one of the in-training Delta Warriors. He's not quite a full-fledged Delta Warrior yet. He's still discovering his powers, but he is still training and working hard in that sense. You can see him with a Kai here, as well as another Delta Warrior who doesn't have a card just yet. This is Trinity. She's also another light wielder like Lumia is. Trinity herself doesn't have a card yet, but she might have a card in the future. Finally, I want to mention the arch enemy of the Delta Warriors. This is Zemos. He is also a very wielder of elemental powers, although he doesn't quite specialize in any one particular element. Although you do see him use fire here, he's actually skilled with all sorts of elemental powers, and he's able to keep the various Delta Warriors on their toes in that respect. He's also well known for conjuring different things like people and various objects, and you can kind of see that in his ability here where he can draw villain characters out of the deck and put them into play. Very powerful stuff. Although sometimes Zemos is well known to sometimes put his differences with the Delta Warriors aside and for the greater good in some instances as well, if there's a greater threat to Delta City that needs solving. He's also kind of a reference to the origins of the Delta Academy in a way, because he's very similar to Slater in that regard, who's also wields just about every element in his power set. And so Zemos is kind of like a spiritual successor to him in a way. But that about does it for this little dive into the Delta Warriors. Thank you very much for watching. Definitely leave a like if you enjoyed this little lore dive, and you can comment below which of these Delta Warriors was your favorite, and if you want to see more lore videos about different factions and whatnot in my game, you can let me know that in the comments below as well. I'll see you guys in whatever video I upload next, and take care.